In our previous video, we saw that knowledge without consciousness can become an illusion, the feeling of moving forward without actually changing. We understood that knowing without feeling is just noise, and that only embodying what you know gives birth to wisdom. We ended with a question. Why do we seek other people's approval so much? Why can one criticism affect us for days, while a compliment sometimes only brings a few seconds of happiness? And how can love, gratitude, and appreciation free us from this trap? We promise to answer it today. That's exactly what we're about to do. For those of you just discovering this video, I encourage you to watch the previous ones, especially the one titled Knowledge Without Awareness is the Ruin of the Soul, what Rabelais and Dispenza reveal about you. So we're all on the same page. Because yes, this is a sequence. Every video is a building block that sets up the next. If you enjoy this kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe to Mind and Science, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a release. We pour our hearts into bringing you deep, useful analysis. Now, let's get into it.
Imagine wearing a mask all day long. In front of your colleagues, you smile. In front of your family, you're strong. In front of your friends, you're funny. But at night, when you're alone, you take off the mask, and you no longer know who you really are. Why do you do this? Because you're seeking other people's approval. You want them to like you, admire you, validate you. And Joe Dispenza reveals an uncomfortable truth. The more you seek external approval, the more you lose your inner power. You become a prisoner of your environment. You let circumstances define who you are. If you stay until the end, you'll understand why you need other people's validation so much, and how emotions like love, gratitude, and appreciation can free you from this dependency. You'll know how to reclaim control over your identity and your energy.
François Rabelais wrote, "Science without conscience is but the ruin of the soul." We saw in the previous video that knowledge without consciousness is an illusion. But there's another powerful principle, often associated with humanist wisdom, acting with love, appreciation, and selflessness, without expecting anything in return. The idea is simple. When you act from the heart without trying to please, others feel it. Not because you're seeking to be loved, but because you're authentic. Joe Dispenza, 5 centuries later, confirms this intuition. Your identity should not depend on external validation. When you seek approval, you give away your power. But when you act with love and gratitude, you create a stable inner state that depends on no one. Before we go further, let's ask an essential question. Why do we need approval so much? The answer is ancient. For thousands of years, being rejected by your group could mean death. Our ancestors lived in tribes. To be excluded was to lose protection, food, and chances of survival. So our brain developed a powerful mechanism: seek acceptance and avoid rejection. The problem is that today, this ancestral program is still running. A negative comment online, a disapproving look, or criticism at work can activate the same brain circuits that once served to protect us. What was a survival mechanism has become a psychological prison. Joe Dispenza would say that we then live in a permanent state of survival, even though the danger no longer exists.
But here's a troubling question. If you spend your life playing a role to be loved, who is actually being loved? Is it you, or the character you present to the world? And what if people don't love who you are, but the image you show them? Dispenza distinguishes 2 ways of living. Dependence on external validation. You act to be loved, recognized, validated. Your identity is fragile because it depends on others. One criticism destroys you. One silence makes you anxious. Inner freedom. You act out of love, gratitude, and selflessness. You give without expecting. You're in alignment with yourself. Your identity is stable because it depends on no one. According to Joe Dispenza, as long as your happiness depends on other people's gaze, you remain dependent on your environment. And his entire philosophy rests on the opposite idea. Become greater than your environment. Be capable of feeling love, gratitude, or confidence before any external event gives you a reason to feel them. There's a trap. Many people seek approval by disguising themselves. They smile when they're sad. They say yes when they want to say no. And this inner dissonance, this gap between what they feel and what they show, creates a tension that exhausts them. Dispenza says this tension is a form of chronic stress. Your brain stays on alert. Your body produces cortisol. You're never at peace. And the worst part is, you're not even loved for who you really are, but for the mask you wear.
Dispenza tells the story of a man he met at a seminar. This man was a senior executive, very competent, very respected, but he was exhausted. He spent his days satisfying everyone, his colleagues, his hierarchy, his family. He said yes to everything, even when he was overwhelmed. He had built his entire identity on other people's approval. He defined himself by what he gave, what he accomplished, what people thought of him. But he no longer knew himself. He woke up every morning with a knot in his stomach. Dispenza asked him one question. If you stopped trying to please, who would you be? The man couldn't answer. He realized he had never taken the time to ask what he really wanted, what he really felt. He started with a small exercise. Every day, he committed to doing one thing, just one, out of love, without expecting anything in return. Not to please, not to be recognized, just because it came from the heart. After a few weeks, he felt a relief he had never known. He had discovered that love and gratitude are inner states, not responses to other people's expectations.
When I read this passage, I thought about a period in my life where I constantly sought validation from others. I posted photos on social media and checked every 2 minutes for the number of likes. I spoke in meetings and scanned faces to see if I was approved. I said yes to projects that didn't interest me, just to not disappoint. In hindsight, I realized I wasn't just seeking likes or compliments. I was seeking confirmation of my worth, as if the value I gave myself depended on the grade others gave me. And that's perhaps the real trap, confusing recognition with personal worth. Then I became aware of something. The more I sought approval, the less free I felt. And worse, even when I got that approval, it didn't last. The next day, I had to start over. I was chasing a feeling that vanished as soon as I caught it. I understood that doing things from the heart, without expecting, is the only way to be truly loved. Because others feel authenticity. They know when you act out of self-interest, and when you act out of love. And it's love, not performance, that creates true connection.
So, what does neuroscience say about all this? Several studies confirm this intuition. The brain's reward system, the dopaminergic circuit, is activated when we receive social approval. But this reward is short-lived. The brain quickly habituates. That's why a compliment gives you a few seconds of happiness. Then you want more. Conversely, emotions like gratitude and love activate different circuits, those linked to the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body and reduces stress. Regular gratitude even changes brain structure, strengthening areas associated with lasting happiness. Selflessness, giving without expecting, activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala activity, the fear center. In other words, when you give out of love, you deactivate your stress system. Dispenza sums it up. Seeking approval makes you dependent. Love, gratitude, and appreciation make you free. What you do out of love sets you free. What you do to please
imprisons you. Here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Every day, do one thing, just one, out of love, without expecting anything in return. Not to please, not to be recognized, just because it comes from the heart. It can be helping someone without telling them, sincerely thanking someone, giving a disinterested compliment, or simply taking a moment to feel gratitude. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I feel? Did I seek approval, or did I act freely? You'll see that love and gratitude are inner states, not responses to other people's expectations.
If you love our content, drop your thoughts in the comments. We read absolutely everything, and we'd love to hear from you. Your feedback helps us create videos that are even more useful for you.
Now that we've seen that the quest for approval makes us prisoners, and that love, gratitude, and selflessness set us free, an even deeper question arises. But if we seek other people's approval so much, isn't it because we don't really know who we are? Can we know others without knowing ourselves? And even if we knew ourselves perfectly, can we truly access the inner universe of another consciousness? Or are we condemned to see others through the filter of our own beliefs? Joe Dispenza claims that we perceive reality through our identity. If that identity is made of fears, judgments, or conditioning, then our vision of others will inevitably be distorted. That is perhaps one of the greatest challenges of human existence. Breaking the habit of being yourself is therefore not just about transforming your life. It's also learning to see more clearly yourself, others, and the world around you. That's what we'll explore in the next video. In the meantime, do one thing out of love, without expecting. Don't seek approval. Simply seek to be free. I'll see you soon on Mind and Science.